Okay, welcome to today's VB Complete demonstration brought to you by Hub International and Transamerica. First, we're going to walk through the enrollment process that the employee will see, and then we'll back out to the administrative side and look at some functionality there. So we're looking at a very robust platform. It can handle all types of modifications, color schemes, logos, any of the content you see on the screens, the text, links to other documents, rich media like video, PowerPoints, those types of things can also be accommodated. Okay, so to get started here, navigation is very simple. We click Next to begin. Anytime we click that button, and once we get past the first page, we'll see a back button. Anytime any of those buttons are clicked, it's saving, so we're not worried about losing any information. The system is a cloud-based system as well, so it can handle being accessed by any device, whether it's a mobile device or a Mac versus a PC, cross-browser compatible, Safari, Chrome, Internet Explorer, of course. So it really can be accessed anywhere you have an internet connection. First, the second page we're looking at here is the employee demographics. This is typically pre-populated with a census file. The more information we can get up front, the better. Less keying that an employee has to do or an enroller has to do, then the less chance for a mistake. If you want to allow them to make updates to some of their information, things like address, maybe phone number, maybe you want to collect something that you don't have on file, like an emergency contact or something along those lines, we can also add customized fields into the site, and fields can be set to be required, optional, read-only, or not shown. If I have a required field, it's going to flag me for that and not let me move forward until I've completed all the required fields that we have on the screen. Oops. All right, click Next, and we move into the dependent screen. I've already got a spouse loaded in here. Dependents can also be loaded via the census file if you have that information on hand. Otherwise, they can be entered as the employee enrolls. So if we need to edit an existing dependent, click the pencil. If we need to add another dependent, click the plus sign. Any of the relationships that you allow, if it's grandchildren, wards, those kinds of things, we can add into the list. All right, I'm going to just leave the spouse so we can show how the system will do some additional validation as we enroll. So there's an option here to have some decision support available for medical plans. Basically, all of the details around the plans offered just need to be entered in up front. So things like annual maximums, copays, deductibles, RX, all that. And then it'll ask you a series of questions. Again, this is optional if we want to turn it on or not. So we haven't begun the enrollment process with our benefits. We're on the first one, which is medical. So decision support here, answer a few questions. Based on the answers and based on the figures that have been plugged in for each plan, it's going to provide a recommendation. So I've got a high deductible PPO. It's recommending the high deductible. If we hover over, it'll give us the estimated annual out-of-pocket. We click on the next screen, and now we're here at the election screen. Again, it's putting a flag or a star above the recommended plan. If we want to learn more about the details of the plan, then we click this and we can see additional information around all of the little line items that are associated to the plan. All right. Every plan in our menu, whatever benefits you're offering. So it understands eligibility. We can handle complex eligibility rules. An employee is only going to see the benefits they're allowed to see. So each person's employee's menu might look different based on your eligibility rules, but each plan must have a decision made upon it, either an election, enroll, or a declination, decline. It's defaulting me to Employee Plus Spouse based on the responses to our questions a minute ago. If I select Employee Plus Children or Employee Plus Family, you'll notice now I got a little disclaimer down here. It's saying it does not match the selected individuals, which means dependents. I only have a spouse. It won't let me enroll. All right, so this was the validation. Additional validation I was talking about that happens at the time of enrollment, so we're not having to chase down information after the fact. As we enroll in benefits, you're going to see the line item cost associated to each plan. We can show rolling totals. If we want to show you your contribution, pre-tax, post-tax breakouts, we're able to do that. Like most everything in the system, it can either be turned on, turned off. Total cost per pay period is the default. Every cost you see per pay period. We're going to enroll. Primary care capabilities to collect. We can click the Find button here to launch out to the primary care lookup site for the particular carrier. Here we're getting into some of the voluntary products. This is a good example of showing how we can add content onto the screen. So here's a link to a brochure. Here is an informational video that if the employee wants to learn more and watch, they can do that. If they want to read, they can open the brochure up. Any plan that requires beneficiaries, those are set up to be collected. If you try to move forward without entering a beneficiary, selecting a beneficiary, it's going to stop you. Dependents, a couple default options are the ones laid out on the screen. If we need to add more, we click the plus sign. Then we have additional choices. I have primary as required, contingent as optional. If you select more than one, it'll split it up however many ways it needs to by default, and then you can adjust percentages if you want to. Any additional information a product might require that's not attached to the census file, things like this for the accident plan wants to know the occupation and how I want to receive correspondence about the coverage, if I want it electronic or not. Some additional questions. And we're through. So if there are, again, additional requirements that a specific product needs, we're able to capture those electronically. Let's move on through to the next screen here. This is an example of a calculator that can be used for FSAs, dependent care FSAs, HSAs, and other options can be turned on here. So if we want to have, employer match, a percentage up to a maximum that's able to be accommodated. It can also prorate. So this particular individual has 16 pay periods left in the calendar year. It understands that based on the payroll calendar. And so here I can put in a per pay period amount and calculate the annual, or go vice versa. Annual, and it'll back calculate the per pay period. So you can see the totals are starting to come up here in the per payroll deduction. You see the line item cost next to each plan. We're going to move through and get to the end here. This is just an example of employer paid life plan. Life can be handled however that needs to be, whether it's a percentage of salary or if it's a specific amount. It's no cost to the employee. And then again, beneficiary collection, very important on these. When we get into the supplemental term life or the voluntary term life, all of the rules around those types of plans are handled, age banding, tobacco rating, however benefit choices need to be set up, whether it's a percentage of salary or specific increments, minimums, maximums, and then guaranteed issue rules. So in this example, if I go up to 150,000, I think, we get a little scale here, a little slider to move us up and down the choice list. As soon as I cross my guaranteed issue threshold, it turns red, tells me that this is going to be pended. And what that means is, from a payroll perspective, anything above 588 in this example will be withheld from going over to payroll on standard payroll files. And it will not go over to payroll until it's actually been approved. So there's a pending queue, very easy to manage. And once this specific benefit that's pending has been approved, the next file will reflect that goes over to payroll. Beneficiary collection, it's moving the one we chose initially forward. If we want to change it, we have the ability to do that. And then this is just some additional information around EOI and what's required. And that's really dependent upon the specific carrier. Some have good integrations with the site, or it can be collected and real-time responses can be made. Some have their own sites that they need to be routed to. In that instance, we'd have the URL, point them over to the other carrier site. And then a lot still require paper, so we can at least provide that in our as a link on the screen or in the form library, and the employee can download, complete it, and turn it in. Now let's get to the end here. So here we are. This is our review screen, next to last screen, and it shows every benefit that we were offered. So based on our eligibility rules, what were you offered? What decision did you make on each plan? It shows whatever election you made or if you waived. And so this is both collecting elections as well as waivers. The different costs, contributions can be shown. And then we'll move forward and now complete any documents that need signatures. So these specific ones are for Transamerica. If we want to open up their application, we can click that, see all the data that's been pre-populated. Otherwise, check to sign on these. And then I'm in as an enroller, so I also have to complete. But if there's not an enroller present, you wouldn't have that second approval. And here we get to the confirmation. Looks very similar to one of the prior screens where we had all of the election, all of the benefits, and then the decisions made. Down at the bottom, we've got our totals, agreement and authorization. This is what the employee is signing, saying they understand and agree with. Payroll deduction, understanding of pre-tax elections. Signature here typically is a pen signature, predefined. Last four social, last two date of birth is the standard. However, we can deviate and handle any type of signature requirement. Sign our form. We're done, complete. All of our elections are recapped. Down at the bottom, we have access to the different forms that we signed. These will be available in the site from now on. So if the employee wants to come back after open enrollment or after their new hire enrollment window and they want to download the form, it's PDF. So it's what I can do with a PDF, whether I want to print it, save it, email it. It's up to me. electronic signature on file, data was completed. So we're done with the employees enrollment experience. When they come back in after they've enrolled, now their home screen will change a bit. It'll show them all of the elections that were made, costs, benefit amounts, some additional options here, things like change of beneficiary, review the forms that I signed. Didn't mean to click that. Find a document or a form. So if you want to make claim forms available, brochures, handbooks, SPDs, all of those can be housed in the form library. And those can be accessed year-round if you leave the site open. Employees can change their elections within their enrollment window or if they have a life event. But anytime you make a change after you've completed all of those documents, you have to sign a new confirmation form. Let's take a quick peek over here on the admin side. So we're going to log out on the enrollment site. Takes us to the admin site. The dashboard is where you're normally going to be taken to on the home screen. Here we got kind of a high level of the enrollment status while you're in open enrollment, reports that have been generated, any new messages or notes from the system around new enhancements, etc. If we want to look up an employee, we do that here. When I click, it'll show me the last few people that I've looked up and accessed, so it's kind of a quick lookup. Otherwise, I can type in name, partial name, social, employee ID, but it'll bring back the results. I want to go bring up the person we just enrolled. Once we've pulled up the record, now we can do a few things here. We can edit and look at their record on the administrative side. We can initiate a life event for them or go through the enrollment process. So we're going to edit, but enrolling can be done self-service, counselor assisted, whether that's face-to-face or call center. And then as administrators in HR, you can also help employees enroll. So here we are bringing up the employees file. So we've got all this information at our fingertips, broken up into different tabs. So we're on the general employment screen here, or tab. If we go under coverage, we can see the enrollment details. I canceled a few plans that had previously been enrolled. It's applied some term dates. We can also look at historical coverage if there is any. And we do that by selecting the show coverage history. If you want to see additional information, you drop it down. You got when it was processed, who did it, and if there's any administrative reason why. So you have to enter those in for like life events or admin type changes. So there's coverage. We can access beneficiaries. In the case of a claim, you need to access that. It's right here. Any forms they've completed and signed. You'll see I have a few historical forms that are now crossed out, but still available to access. So the system doesn't delete anything. It's got a very deep audit trail at many levels. We can take a look at events history that's happened. So I've added this employee recently. As we make updates to key fields, things like if I make this salary change and save, it'll automatically log that change. So as key information is being updated, the system is going to log it, put it in a central place for you to review. If we didn't initiate the life event on the home screen, we can also do so here under the life event tab. It'll give us all of the available life events for the particular employee. We do have a manual override, comes in handy for making concessions that need to be made if you need to backdate an effective date or someone forgot to enroll and then exceptions being made. Okay. Typically these are initiated on the admin side. Availability is there to allow self-service, but it's rarely used. Most folks in HR want to police the life events. We can look at a high level and see when the enrollment activity occurred, who did it, how many apps were taken. Demographics will show us employee independent information. There's a notes section. And as those are logged, when it happened, who did it. So a lot of information available. This is a very common area to come to access info on the employee. I forgot to mention on the Forms tab that if you want to add additional forms, additional documents, you're capable of doing that by hitting that plus sign. So if you have a court order, birth certificate, marriage certificate, something like that, for a life event documentation, you can attach it to the particular employee's file. All right, just a couple more things that we're going to review here. Let's move over to the reporting section. All types of reports available here. Pages of reports. So there's tons of standard reports. They're broken up into different categories. HR, admin. There's ACA reporting available as an additional module. You can save your favorite report so you have quick access to those to run those. But just looking at any specific report to show how the reporting functionality works. Each report's going to have its own set of parameters. So as we select the parameters we need to run, and then most reports, almost all, have the option of changing the scope from an ACD, which is an add, change, delete. So you just want activity within the time frame you're running it, or a full report where you're sending a full roster each time. We're setting up a standard payroll file to be delivered, and so we have the option, any report, we can run it right now, wait a couple minutes at max, and then it'll, however your browser downloads, deliver it a little bit later. So just put it out into the scheduling queue and it will tee up. Usually within 5 to 10 minutes, that's going to be in your email. Report itself is never emailed, just the link. You have to be one of the recipients on the report to access, and then you have to log in to download the report. So we do a one-time delivery, but most commonly you see the scheduling feature being used. So this allows us to set up a report we like, send it to the people that we want. So we have recipients, humans, or if we're delivering directly to, like, let's say a carrier, we're sending it system to system. So we can set up FTP sites, secure FTP sites, to be recipients to reports so that we have secure encrypted delivery. You can select as many people as you need to be a recipient. Just going to leave mine as me. Now we choose our frequency. Is it on a weekly basis? Is it some sort of monthly basis? Specific day of the month? Is it specific, day of the week that it needs to come every month? If we want to define a calendar, maybe the payroll doesn't follow any of these, and so we need to input the specific calendar schedule, we can do that as well. So once we've selected our delivery frequency, I'm doing weekly. We're going to start at Monday. That's coming up in just under a week. We pick a start date. We pick an end date. I'm going to put mine out in the future so that this thing will continue to run. This is a payroll file, so I'm going to look ahead 7 days to see what deductions need to start or stop or change. And then we schedule. And here we have all of the scheduled reports that I've scheduled. So each person will see the reports they've scheduled. You can also go back look at reports you've received or reports you've sent. And in the instance there is no report that fits your needs, we're able to create customized reporting, whether that be for a carrier or for a payroll system. Last thing we'll point out is the pending queue that we mentioned, where any benefit that's requiring EOI is going to be managed. It shows what's been approved, what's pending, total cost approved. This is what will go to payroll when the payroll files are run, and then what the total cost pending is. Once you receive the approvals, you can select multiple people, you can adjust the effective date, you can accept or decline. And now the next payroll file that runs, those 3 or 4 that I selected, the premiums will be sent over to payroll. So that concludes today's demonstration. Thank you for your time.